All right, hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about fiscal policy. Okay, so fiscal policy is used when y does not equal to y bar for employment. We've already talked a little bit about what happens when y does not equal to AE, but now we're talking about, okay, so y is equal to AE at this point, but it's not equal to y bar, our full employment, our target goal in macroeconomics. So fiscal policy, essentially, it just changes in G or T. We either increase our government spending, decrease our government spending, increase taxes, decrease taxes, like that. It's just one of those options. So expansionary fiscal policy, we just call this anytime when we increase our government spending or we decrease taxes. It's called expansionary because this increases the output level. If we increase government spending, remember y is equal to c plus I plus g, and so this increase in g will increase that y. And remember, taxes affect our consumption. And so we have less taxes, we can consume more. And that also increases our output. So this is why it's called expansionary fiscal policy. On the other hand, we have contractionary fiscal policy. This is just the opposite. It's either decreases in G or increases in T. Remember that increase in T will cause consumption to decrease. Once again, we just have a very basic graph here. So this situation, when we call it Y is less than Y bar, so we're below full employment level output. So we see here you have AE, we have this green dot here. Oh, it's a red dot, my bad. So next up we have our Y, that's our Y point, which is our current level output, and then we have our Y bar, this is our green. So this is where we want to be, this green dot right here. But we're at the red dot, so we're trying to get to the green dot. In this situation, we have Y is less than Y bar. We also say Y is below Y bar, or Y bar is above Y, or any combination that of these things. So ultimately, our goal is to increase Y to Y bar. So we have to shift this AE curve upwards, because that's the only thing we can really affect in this table. So we're trying to pursue expansionary fiscal policy. This means you either increase G or decrease T. And that shifts the AE curve up, and then we have a new equilibrium at the green dot. So our new equilibrium is at Y bar. So just remember that when you see these key terms, Y is less than Y bar, Y is below Y bar, or Y bar is above Y, they all mean the same thing. It just means that we are below the current level of, or the full employment level output, and we need to do expansionary fiscal policy. So next, this is just a different example. What happens if Y is greater than Y bar? Notice here our AE is way up, and this red dot is where we are, Y. And then our green dot is all the way down here at Y bar. And so we clearly notice that we have way too much production. It's over full employment. So Y is greater than Y bar, Y is above Y bar is below Y. All these things mean the same thing. So our goal is to decrease Y to Y bar. So this is contractionary fiscal policy. This is a decrease in G or an increase in T. Once again, remember that these things affect your consumption or your government spending in the Y equals to C plus I plus G plus NX equation. And so this shifts the AE curve downward. And when you shift the AE curve down, you have a new equilibrium at the Y bar. So one thing you notice is that we're not just changing Y straight away. We're changing our aggregate expenditures, and as a result, the level of production changes. So essentially, we're targeting a certain level of consumption that, or not consumption, a certain level of expenditures that equals to a certain level of full employment output. So next up, let's do just a couple examples. So solving fiscal policy, So anytime you're solving fiscal policy, really, you want to look at the change in Y. The change in Y is how much you want to change. Do I want to increase Y by 500 or decrease Y by like 200? The change in G, this is just how much we're changing, right? So if the change in G is $20, then it's $20. Sometimes we either have to find the change in Y or the change in G. And then the spending multiplier, and then the change in Y is equal to change in G times tax multiplier. Remember, there are two ways to conduct fiscal policy, and this is essentially a simple linear equation that you can use to find the change in G or the change in Y or change in T. Remember that the spending multiplier is 1 over 1 minus MPC, and then the tax multiplier is negative MPC divided by 1 minus MPC. I'm not going to go too in depth on this. These multipliers have a basis in why we do things. but you can just go over the slides in class to really understand the concept behind that. Instead, we're going to focus on trying to solve these problems. So let's do an expansionary fiscal policy example. Your current level output is equal to $10,000 and is below full employment level output by $3,000. So the MPC is 0.8. How much should the government spend or tax to bring employment back up to the full employment level output? First off, our change in Y is positive 3,000 because we're currently below where we want to be by 3,000. So we want to increase by 3,000. Our spending multiplier is 1 divided by 1 minus 0.8. So it's 1 divided by 0.2, which is 5. And our tax multiplier is negative 4. Once again, just throw this in the calculator, you'll be fine. And so start off, 3,000 is equal to some change in G times 5. Now you have one variable, and you have all the information you need. You just divide to either side. So 600 is equal to the change in G. Next up, 3,000 is equal to change in T times negative 4. Just divide, and you have negative 750 is equal to the change in T. So the hardest part of this equation is just setting it up. Do we have a positive change in Y? Do we have a positive or a negative change in Y? You have to really kind of familiarize yourself with the words and the choice of words, and that determines whether we're increasing Y or decreasing Y. After that, you just throw your numbers in, and then you divide, and you'll be fine. The other example, just to go full circle here, is this contractionary fiscal policy. Full employment level output is $2,000 below the current level output. So this one, all you need to know is that currently full employment is below where we are, so we have to go backwards. The MPC is 0.75. How much should the government spend or tax to bring employment back to the full employment level output? So this time, our change in Y is negative 2,000. We want to decrease Y by $2,000. So the spending multiplier is 1 divided by 0.7, 1 minus 0.75, that's 4. And then tax multiplier is negative 3, just plug this in your calculator. Negative 2,000 is equal to change in G times 4, and this is just negative 500. So we're decreasing government spending by 500. Next, we have negative 2,000 is equal to change in T times negative 3. So if we divide a negative number by a negative number, it becomes a positive number. So this is around 666.67 change in taxes. So if we increase the taxes by around $666, then the full employment level output will decrease by around 2,000, and then we'll be back at equilibrium. So when you're working with negative numbers, it becomes a little tricky. Just make sure you take your time with these types of problems. And ultimately, in the end, the hard part is just knowing whether you're increasing or decreasing your output. All right, that's going to be all for this week's video. I apologize if anything a little too fast. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. That'll be all for this week.